All right, let's talk about something every full stack developer knows all too well, the great divide. But what if you could just erase it? Today, we're diving into Jack Client, a tool that lets you build your front ends with the tech you already love, but completely reimagines how it talks to the back end. You know this story, right? On one side, you've got this amazing, vibrant front end world, React, TypeScript, all that good stuff. On the other, you have the powerhouse back end with Python, databases, and the bridge between them. Man, it's often a tangled mess of REST APIs and just so much glue code. So this is the big question Jack Klein is trying to answer. What if you didn't need that complicated, fragile bridge? What if you could connect to a backend written in the exact same language and just get rid of all that plumbing in between? Okay, so let's get into it. What's it actually like to use? Well, the crazy part is stepping into JClient feels almost exactly like stepping into a modern React project. Seriously, if you know React, you're already 90% of the way there. So you know how modern React is all about hooks, right? They're how we hook into state and other features in our components. Well, Jock doesn't just borrow this idea or get inspired by it. It fully adopts the React hooks model. It's the one and only way to handle state on the client side. And we're not talking about some watered-down, inspired by version either. All the heavy hitters you rely on every single day are here. Use state, use effect, use context, and even the really important optimization hooks like use memo and use callback. But talk is cheap. Let's see some code. How identical are we really talking here? Check this out. On the left, that's your standard React use state hook. On the right, that's Jack. And, yep, they're identical. There's no new syntax to learn, no mental gymnastics required. You just write what you already know. And this is really important. That feeling of familiarity isn't just about state management. Jockey isn't trying to lock you into some weird new walled garden. It's built to welcome the entire ecosystem you've already spent years mastering. Right, so this is probably the first thing you're thinking. Okay, the state stuff is cool, but what about the rest of my workflow? Can I still use TypeScript for safety? What about Tailwind or my other favorite CSS tools? Oh yeah, 1000% yes. Jock has first-class, out-of-the-box support for TypeScript. So you can bring in your existing complex components or write new ones from scratch with all the type safety you're used to. And that same bring-your-own-tools philosophy applies to styling too. You don't have to ditch your favorite frameworks or your team's conventions. I mean, look at this list. The gang's all here. You love utility first with Tailwind CSS? It's supported. You're a Sass person? No problem. CSS in JS with styled components or a whole library like Material UI? Yep, and yep. It just works. And it doesn't even stop there. We're talking about the entire JavaScript world. You can install and import compatible NPM packages, unlocking thousands of utilities for date formatting, animations, whatever you need. All right, so we've established the front-end side is familiar, it's flexible, it's powerful. But now we get to the really mind-blowing part. This is the magic. This is how that familiar front-end connects to the back-end. See, in the Jockwell world, you stop thinking about REST endpoints, controllers, and routes. Instead, on the back-end, you just write something called a walker. And a walker is simply a function. That's it. It's your server-side logic, your database calls, all that good stuff just wrapped in a simple function. So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? If there's no REST API, no gets, no posts, how in the world does a button click in the browser actually make a function run on the server? The answer is kind of shockingly simple. It's one function call, Jack spawn. That's it. No more fetch, no setting headers, no parsing JSON responses. Just Jack spawn. Let's just trace the journey. Your user clicks a button. Your onClick handler calls Jack spawn, tells it which walker to run, like create to do, and passes in the data. Instantly, that create to do function executes on your back end. When it's done, the result just comes right back to your front end, and your UI updates. It's so direct, it almost feels like cheating. Okay, so let's zoom out. You've got this familiar front end and this radically simplified back end connection. What does that actually mean for the future of how we build applications? Well, the benefits are huge. You're suddenly developing way faster because you're not writing all that boilerplate code. You get to leverage all your hard-earned React and TypeScript skills, and you eliminate that constant draining mental switch between, Python mode and JavaScript mode. You're just building one single unified application. This quote just says it all. Write front end, write back end, stop writing glue. That's the whole philosophy. Let developers focus on what actually matters, the features and logic, not spend half their time on the plumbing that holds two separate worlds together. And this all leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. When tools like Jaka blur the lines this effectively, are we starting to see the beginning of the end for the traditional, strictly separated front-end and back-end languages? It's definitely something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.